23XI and Front Row Motorsports get a big win. Where we go in the case from here, we say goodbye to a NASCAR legend, and Haas Factory team has a new look, so let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, we finally have the verdict, or at least the second verdict. Of course, the first time it was overturned, but this time 23XI and Front Row Motorsports, in fact, win the injunction hearing or whatever, so let's see what they had to say. We welcome today's decision by Judge Bell granting a preliminary injunction in our favor. The court's ruling allows 23XI and Front Row Motorsports to race existing cars as charter teams in next year's Cup Series. The decision also requires NASCAR to approve both teams' purchases of a third charter from Stewart-Haas Racing and allow those cars to race as charter teams in the 2025 season. We are confident in the strength of our case and will continue to fight so that racing can thrive and become a more competitive and fair sport in ways that benefit teams, drivers, sponsors, and most importantly, our fans. Jeffrey Kessler, attorney for 23XI and Front Row Motorsports. So, of course, winning the injunction means that they will go on with business as usual while the trial goes on, meaning that in the 2025 season, it will operate just like the 2024 season, like nothing is happening, nothing is going on, of course, until the case itself is resolved, which means the existing charters they have will be racing, including Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, and Noah Gragson, among a few that had clauses in their contract that if 23XI and Front Row Motorsports didn't have a charter, they could opt out of those contracts and become free agents. So it was a big deal that this got handled today, that this decision got handed down today, because it was kind of the last-minute situation, because Tyler Reddick could have filed and become a free agent, Bubba Wallace could have filed and become a free agent, Noah Gragson, so on and so forth. All the drivers that they already have signed, so it was a big deal that it got done today, and an even bigger deal that it went in the favor of 23XI and Front Row Motorsports. You also saw in that quote that SHR's charters will now be going to 23XI and Front Row Motorsports, so that is big news for Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst also had that clause in his contract where if they didn't have a charter, that he wouldn't necessarily have to be under contract with them, so another huge win there. And of course, going to be a big win for Zane Smith whenever they finally actually announce him. Like it said, it's already kind of been leaked in other court documents that Zane Smith is going to be one of the other drivers over there at Front Row Motorsports. And of course, they are excited. You saw this tweet here from Denny Hamlin where he just simply says, yes. But keeping the drivers under contract wasn't even the biggest win for 23XI and Front Row. In fact, the biggest win was this, as pointed out by Adam Stern here in this tweet. While U.S. District Court Judge Kenneth Bell wrote that he does not reach and express no opinion as to the plaintiff's likelihood of success on their Sherman Act claims, he later added the court finds that NASCAR possesses monopsony power in the relevant market. The court finds that NASCAR possesses monopsony power in the relevant market, which is the market for premier stock car racing in the United States. NASCAR's Cup Series is the only premier stock car racing series in the United States, and premier stock car racing is a distinct form of automobile racing with unique cars and highly specialized racing teams for which other types of motorsports like Formula One, IndyCar are not substitutes. Therefore, NASCAR fully controls which race teams can compete at the highest level of stock car racing. Effectively, it has a 100% market share. Kenneth D. Bell, U.S. District Court Judge. And so that is huge that it is in legal writing that Kenneth Bell said that NASCAR is, in fact, a monopoly and controls the market. Stock car racing is completely separate from IndyCar racing, F1 racing. They are not substitutes. Of course, NASCAR had been arguing all along that IndyCar and F1, if these teams didn't want to race NASCAR, they could just go race something else. Well, Kenneth Bell said clearly and very clearly here that it is not the same, and that they are, in fact, acting as a monopoly. So that is going to be a huge, huge win. I can't even emphasize how big of a win that is going to be for 23XI and Front Row Motorsports as this case continues on. He also threw in there that NASCAR fully controls which teams compete, so that's another thing that is kind of flying under the radar that, they're going to be able to use going forward in their case. And speaking of which, going forward, what happens and where do we go from here? Well, in fact, Judge Bell wanted to get this thing handled fairly quickly, so he put a timeline on it. In fact, if you look here at number 3, a case management schedule will be set by the court, which, in the absence of a voluntary resolution of this dispute among parties, provides for a trial on plaintiff's claims to be concluded in advance of the 2026 NASCAR race season. So there you go. He's going to make sure that this thing gets wrapped up by 2026, by the beginning of Daytona 2026. For that season, so that is really good news, which means we only have to hear about it at most for one full season, and it should be done. But that being said, what are the options for NASCAR and the teams going forward? The first option, of course, is NASCAR can appeal this because it was just a ruling by the judge. They didn't hear both sides. He just looked at what was presented, I guess because of the timeline crunch. So NASCAR could easily appeal this, and, you know, if they do that, we'll just go through the same cycle again. Of course, the second route would be if NASCAR wants to just go ahead and go to trial. They're tired of all this stuff. We'll just do this during the season, and we'll go to trial and worry about everything going to trial. And of course, like Kenneth Bell said here, we're going to be done by 2026. So that is a route they could take as well. And then the third option, which I think is the most likely option and what I've thought all along, they'll probably, you know, talk to each other and get this resolved out of court. They'll come to some type of agreement because now that this has gone down, I'm pretty sure NASCAR doesn't want to go through the discovery phase where all of the financials of NASCAR, at least some of them, would get leaked to the public. You would know who makes what. And then NASCAR just doesn't want that. NASCAR doesn't want you to know how much they're making. They don't, you know, any reasonable business person wouldn't want anybody to know what they're making and stuff like that. So I don't think NASCAR necessarily wants it to go to trial. So I do think at some point through arbitration, this will get figured out outside of court, but that's just my guess going forward. Let me know down below what you think will be the end outcome if this goes to trial, if they settle it out of court, if NASCAR appeals it. Haas Factory team has a new look. This here from Joseph Srigley dropped in the Discord server. Appreciate it there, B. Looking at the Haas Factory team website, it appears that the number 00 and the number 41 will be getting a font revamp for the 2025 NASCAR season. And I kind of like it. New team, basically, or new name for the team, Haas Factory team. So you get a new font, same numbers, new font. And I kind of like the font. Custer 316, he's going to unleash hell in the Cup Series next season. So looking forward to that. And unfortunately, have to end this on a little bit of a sad note. Fast Freddy Lorenzen, the Elmhurst Express, the two-time USAC champion and 158 races in the NASCAR Cup Series with 26 wins. He unfortunately left us at 89 years of age. The Hall of Famer is gone, and that is unfortunate. But 89 is a pretty good run, had a pretty good long life, and of course, a great champion and a NASCAR race car driver as well. All right, that is all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.